would be doing some games on behalf of We Create. They have shared amazing gifts with us and would like to pass them on to you guys. So just without much ado, I would introduce my colleague and fund manager, Yewande Odumosu, to introduce our speakers for today and to get the conversation started. Yewande, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? That's the first question I always ask. All right. Well, hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from anyone. My name is Yewande. I manage the fund. HoaQ has a venture fund called HoaQ Ventures Fund, and I'll be moderating today's session. As you can see, I'm a bit nervous because of the kind of people I'm moderating today. So you guys should wish me luck. First person is Babaji. I don't know. I think Babaji is one of the most popular people in the ecosystem. Luckily for me, I know him. You know, very, very big guy. He's done amazing things. He's going to tell us some of the things he's done. Very practical. I think for this session, we wanted like real insights, practical, tips, and just people telling like real stories. So Babaji is someone that has all that experience and more. Yeah, very, very big guy. The next person we also have is Nefe. Nefe works at Paystack. Most people know Paystack. Paystack is one of the most loved companies in the world, not just Nigeria. But yeah, Nefe is going to tell us how, behind the scenes, a lot of things have happened. We don't get to get some insights to how everything looks so great outside. So she's here. She'll also know how everything runs. And we have Kennedy. Kennedy is also one of the most popular guys. Nefe is popular too, but Kennedy and Babaji, I feel like they're the most troublesome with the ecosystem. I was joking. But Kennedy is like one person that I really, really admire. Young chap, very, very ambitious in terms of sales. I tell people that sales is so hard, but Kennedy makes it look easy. And thanks to all three of them for agreeing to join. I'm hoping that all of us take at least one really great thing for this session away. A lot of people have like fluff. A lot of people tell you like stuff, metrics and everything. But we're here to tell you the real truth about growing your startup. I think I'll start with, let me start with Kennedy. So first question, Kennedy, how are you doing?
Great. I'm doing really good. Hi, guys.
All right. Cool. Nefe, how are you doing today?
I actually just left the hospital like 2 hours ago. So people that know me, I'm normally higher energy, but you have to manage what you see today. But just trust me, like, I'm not these two troublesome people on a normal day.
All right, thank you. And Babaji, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm well, one day at a time. I cannot really complain so as well. But whatever Yewande has said about me, do not believe it. It's false news, it's rumors. Wow. I'm a upstanding member of the society. So I'm not a troublemaker.
But yeah, you guys, like, for real, like, I was so excited and I'm so excited. You can see I'm even sweating. I'm nervous. Fortunately for me, I'm in Lagos, so I'm really sweating, like all the heat in the world. But yes, let me start with Kennedy. Kennedy, so quick run through on how you started or how you got to where you got to. Like, I know some people say elevator pitch, but you can just give us like a 1 minute run through of, just your experience and how you got to like your current role. I know that right now you're the head of sales at Chowdeck. How did you even get to this point? And the reason why I'm asking is so people just don't think, oh, it's magic. He was born with sales skills and he just came out of the womb and he became a fantastic salesperson. But please tell us a bit about your journey.
Do you want the short version or the long version?
Short version, because we have like 1 million questions, but short version.
Short version is Babaji is the reason why I am at Chowdeck today. That's the shortest. The longer version is started off my career off of Access Bank. Shout out to Babajide because I knew him before I joined Access Bank. So he introduced me to the bank. Worked in the bank for a couple of years before I moved to Paystack. At Paystack, I was an enterprise associate before becoming an enterprise manager. And after a good 3.5 or 4 years, I moved to Chowdeck. And at Chowdeck, I lead sales, I lead partnership, I lead account management, I lead growth.
Okay, thank you for the short and long version. I think I'll do Nefe next. Nefe, you want to do a short version and long version? Nefe's. Okay,
She's
let's do
frozen.
Babajide. Yeah, she's from Babajide. You can go ahead. So Babajide's on like 10 pages, but you can just give us. Nefe, we'll come back to you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So short version, money is the reason why I'm here because I like money. So that's the short version of things. But long version, so I'm an engineer by training. Spent 6 years of my years working in HR, so as well from like consulting, then banking. That's where I met Kennedy for the first time. I knew he was going to be a rock star at that point in time, despite the fact he was a Man U fan, and I was sitting on the other side of the fence then. And yes, it was football banter that we got talking. Yeah, so left Access Bank, went to join Andela to help Andela set up his community management practice. Did that for 3 years, and then flipped over to the business side, helping Safe Border expand from East Africa to West Africa, especially Ibadan, which is very, very crazy. People thought we were insane at that point in time, but it did work out for us then. And then left Safe Border to go and join Mcopa to help grow Mcopa's presence in Nigeria. Still excited about the work that we do, excited about the ecosystem, excited about technology and how we can continue to build amazing companies on the continent. And I'm happy to say that, Mcopa is a proud customer of Paystack. So I think that's
you see, you guys see how ecosystem works. I know this is not about ecosystem, but you guys see how ecosystem works. You can see that Kennedy's ecosystem is tied to Babajide's ecosystem on a personal and professional basis. I didn't even know this, to be honest. But Nefe, please go ahead.
Sure. I'm feeling a little bit left out of this bromance that's going on, guys. But yeah, so my career started out in London at Deutsche Bank, doing investment banking. Realized very quickly that I was over winter. So I went into consulting for a bit in Nigeria, working in like a 3-person consulting company. Then went to do my MBA in France. I can see someone from HEC is in the chat actually. Then I came back to Nigeria during COVID for what I thought to be a month. I was like, okay, I'll isolate for 2 weeks. I'll chill with my family for 2 weeks. That didn't happen. I was working at a VC firm, and then I decided that actually, like, it's great to give people money, but I want to be involved. And Paystack came along. In my mind, I was joining for 3 months and moving back to France. I have now been at Paystack for 4 years, 1 month, and 16 days. So yeah, you make plans and other stuff happen. But yeah, so primarily at Paystack, led our expansion into Kenya, grew us in Ghana, expansion into Cote d'Ivoire. And yeah, at the beginning of this year, started leading some of our verticals in Nigeria, including e-commerce, healthcare, education, logistics. So both Childec and Mcopa are actually some of my top clients. I have two of my favorite.
You guys should give them a round of applause. I'm so proud. In fact, I don't even know the question to ask. I don't feel like we finished the AMA. I've already finished the whole thing. Okay, let me start with the first question. Where do I start from? Let me start with Nefe this time. So Nefe, you said, you led expansion into Kenya, other countries. A lot of people feel, you must have raised a lot of money for you to be able to achieve that, if you were to recommend or advise, a younger startup, what should they be looking at first before even thinking about expanding to new countries?
Yeah. I think it's always important to remember what problem you're trying to solve in the first place. So expansion isn't always the sign of growth or success. So using Paystack as an example, Paystack started in Nigeria in 2016, and they deliberately stayed very deep and really tried to understand the labyrinth that is this country before trying to expand outside. And even then, we're only live in 7 countries because we understand that for payments specifically, there are nuances for each market, and you can't just like copy and paste or spray and play in each place. And I think is understanding that helps you succeed, is knowing that, okay, what do we want to do? We want to fix payments in Africa. We want to get people within Nigeria to pay themselves. We want to connect Africans to each other. We want to connect Africans to the rest of the world. So I feel like solving your problem should be your guiding principle. For a lot of people, expansion, depending on what your problem is solving, expansion is what your solution is solving. Your expansion isn't necessarily the goal yet. Like look at Chowdeck, for example. Their own expansion was across Nigeria for a while. They're in God knows how many states, I've lost count, and only just started looking at Ghana this year. That is what's supposed to be, because they wanted to fix logistics, and we know logistics does not even work in the country yet. So I think it's very important to stay deep in your market and really understand what your problems are, because a lot of times we don't actually know, we don't understand the extent to the problem we're solving until we start. It's like, I think Patrick Collins, the owner of Stripe, said that if you knew it was going to be this hard, you would never have started it. Like we all go into it thinking that it's easy, and then as you do it, you realize how big it is. So I think until you have product market fit, until you know what your customers really want, you shouldn't just be expanding just because you have money to expand. You need to stay true to your North Star. What is the problem you're solving? And does expanding help you solve that problem better?
Okay, cool. I think I'll go to Babajide like before Kennedy. Babajide, are you still on, or should I go to Kennedy? Okay, Babajide. So,
No, I mean,
yeah, so Nefe has told us some really fancy things. It's like, figure out product market fit, maybe expansion is, thing you should do. I think from your own experience, and obviously you can learn from SafeBorder because you started SafeBorder at ground zero. Like, you've said it before, but I don't think people understand what ground zero means. So maybe you can tell us what ground zero really was, meaning that, I know the story, but meaning like there was, anyway, you say it, but I think what I wanted to hear from you was, everybody's saying scaling smart. At that time, do you think you scaled smart? If yes, how did you scale smart? If no, what would you do differently, or what should people do differently now?
okay, great. Yes, so it was from ground zero, and ground zero was idea of we would like to go into Nigeria. So that's when I got in it's like we would like to go into Nigeria. And I got in and I realized there was even no business registration. Like they've not even registered the business, nothing. So had to do all that sport of registering SafeBorder in Nigeria, getting all the CAC documents, setting up all the bank accounts, things like that, which meant that, in fact, it was crazy to the point where I was using my own personal finance to run a couple of things, and I was being reimbursed at the end of the month through payroll too as well. So that's what ground zero really looked like for me. Now, it sounds very nice and pretty, but it wasn't so nice and pretty, because I remember, we didn't have an office, co-working spaces weren't as popular at that point in time. And we needed to kind of like also spend time out in the market, just doing that initial market research, even it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, where they say, oh, I think we want to go into Nigeria. And then we had to go and spend time doing the market research of the country, understanding the motorcycle landscape, understanding how people moved across the city, understanding just the ecosystem around Okadas and motorcycles. Well, in terms of like scaling, I think based off of the knowledge and the resources we had at that point in time, we did a very good job. Like, people talk about certain things, but it was very interesting that our first amount, and when you work in like an organization that has multiple countries, you start to operate like a startup within a startup, because they allocate resources to you, and then it's almost like seed round. So I remember getting our first $100,000 back then. $100,000 was 360 million naira back then. Who would have ever thought and imagined to? And that was our seed money, and that money was for us to go and prove the concept in Nigeria. By the end of when we're getting to the 100,000 at about $88,000, we had already completed 100,000 rides. So, you know, like using $88,000 to like get to 100,000 rides was a big feat for us and was huge, and just showed the capacity for us to do so many things too as well. So when you think about scaling, most times people think about is the money, and it's, you know, a big thing. But truth of the matter is, the first thing you need to do is show like proof of concept that does this work? Is there a need for this solution in the market? Like, try to understand the problem that you are solving. Like Nefe said, many people don't spend time understanding the problem. And then when you get to a point of understanding that problem, you're able to then now bring others to a point of shared understanding to say, this is what the problem looks like, and this is what the possible solutions could look like. Now, we all think we know the solutions, but then, you know, as we continue to do, we then now keep figuring out how to get things done. Was really excited by the time I was leaving Safe Border. You know, we had completed over 1 million rides. So as well, we had 10,000 drivers, and we're doing about 12,000 rides on a daily basis. So as well. So yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, thank you. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, you know, there's a strategy where as you're expanding, you can make it a startup in a bigger startup, and you can have his own resources, and they have to prove their concept. I think a lot of people are not familiar with that. It's just, okay, we're expanding to Kenya so that we can show our investors we are growing. But that even leads me to Kennedy. So Kennedy, can you hear me? I hope you're not.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so Chowdeck. Babajide said you have to figure out the problem you're solving. I feel first, if you can take us through, how did you even figure out the problem you are solving, and how are you able to figure out, or what methodology did you use in terms of scaling across Nigeria? So how did you figure out the problem you are solving? And obviously you don't have to tell us trade secrets, but you have already expanded, so you can tell us, okay, saying, okay, this is where to go, this is what to do. You know, we would hear about stories around Uber, and people would say, oh, Uber had country launchers, Uber had, you know, a launch team. You know, we want those kind of stories for our own ecosystem. And I feel like ChildX is, at least to an extent, a good model of a recent company. So we're not saying this is what happened in 1995 or 2005. This is just like, I guess, in less than 2-3 years. I would really love to hear from you.
Yeah. Before I answer that question, I was just going to say, I took the first meeting between Safe Border and Paystack when Jide was launching Safe Border in Nigeria. So I took.
It's true. It's true. This is really ecosystem family meeting. It's true. So and I honestly, everybody that's here, all this is like, I don't know that English serendipity. So I swear to you, I didn't know all this, and it's so funny. But that's actually very, very serious. But yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think what was important to us, or figuring out what the problem we wanted to solve, was, I think Femi usually tells this story, and I'll tell it on his behalf. I think when we started, the primary problem that we understood was that, like, even though there was a system existing, there were certain people that left out of that system, and it wasn't as good enough as we wanted it to be. Femi wasn't, you know, before now, delivering food was a hack. It was a hassle, and for you to get food quickly was you have to order and wait for it. If you want to eat food in 3 hours, you have to order it 3 hours ahead. You can't order and hope that it will come to you in 20-30 minutes. And we knew that, like, that wasn't something that could work, because in other places it works. So why is it not working in Lagos? And we realized quickly that in order for us to solve that problem, we needed to bring in the kind of businesses that not everybody, I mean, the guy down the street, you probably want to buy his food, but he's not online anywhere. And it's important for us to bring those kind of people into the system, because that's what helps bring that, you know, ease of delivery. You need to be able to get food as quickly as possible. You visit places like in the US, and McDonald's has like 4,000, 5,000 outlets. People have like a huge number of outlets where they can buy food, and down the street, there, from every corner, there is somebody selling food. But in Nigeria, it's like really hard, because the next place you see online to buy food is probably like 10 streets away from you. And maybe the food you're even craving that you likely will want to eat online is just down the street, but like it's not online. You can't order it. You have to leave your house. So that was the first light bulb moment for us, to find a way to bring in the street food guys who naturally would not see on your typical Jumia food app or the rest of the other app. And that's like, the suya guy down the streets, people down the street. Once we figured out that there was a market there, we held on to that and then doubled down on increasing marginal utility. Basically, if we are providing this service, we need to be sure that like people are getting it at the right cost. Our unit economics for delivering the food is accurate, and then that gives us a platform to like.
Sorry, just give us a minute. I think Kennedy is frozen. Can you guys still hear me? Yes? All right. Just give us 1 minute. Let's hope he comes back. Okay,
Yeah.
you're back. Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So literally stores that were down the streets, local food restaurants. If you go to Yaba today, literally all the spaghetti on Chowdeck today. And the reason being that like we figured out that if you want to win and be able to like, grow that particular part of the business, you need to be able to include everybody. Even the people on the road that don't or haven't used it before. Some of them are currently some of our biggest merchants. And it's important that, like Babajide said, you need to figure out the problem you are trying to solve. So for us, it was making food available as quickly as possible and just having the right variety of vendors to do that so that, people are not just seeing, the usual names, but they're able to like get a variety of businesses that they can be able to like buy food from. I mean, I want to be able to sit down in my house and order, I don't know, the most mundane food that I'll probably be able to get online, and I won't have to break a sweat to get it. So that was something we realized on time, and we just doubled down on it and just try to like improve on that.
Okay, I'll stay with you, Kennedy, for just a few more minutes. So how did you figure out, okay, we've done this in Lagos, we want to go to other places. What's the formula? Yeah,
so previously, as a matter of fact, previously we used to, whenever we want to launch in a new city, of course we go with what people typically would eat in that city. So if we are launching, and the way we think about cities, we don't think about, there is a city part where you think about it in states, and there's a part where you think about it in sub-regions. Pretty much anywhere that has a cluster of up to maybe 500 to 1 million people, we consider it as a city, quote and unquote. Now, but previously for states, you wouldn't go to an Ibadan, for example, and you're not bringing in Amala vendors. Like it has to be a lot of Amala vendors. So you first of all think about what do people eat the most in that city, and then you start looking for areas where the most concentrated areas that have like the best food sellers on the streets, and that's how we try to like mop up that kind of like restaurants, and then that allows us to bring in the customers who are interested in buying that food. Previously, before now, people that will use apps to order food are most likely people who would order your typical KFC, your Chicken Republic, and all that. And while that is also nice, the Iyameta that is on the road, I can tell you for free, she has like over 2,000 people that visit her stores. And people are standing to wash their plates. Do you understand? And she's not online, but people want to be able to buy her food. So thinking about it from that angle, it was easy for us to like, first of all, go in and identify those kind of vendors. So we identify them, we identify what food prevails within that particular city or state, and then we double down position. So we keep acquiring. For the big guys, they're already guaranteed. Of course, those will give you numbers, but like to build that organic growth, you need people on the street. You need those kind of vendors. And sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds, because most of them are not learned enough to handle tech or handle app or respond to orders, all those kind of things. But you need to be able to like handhold them. There's an educational process towards getting them to use the app. But at the end of the day, it's important that you include them, because that's what builds the network that we are looking for.
All right, thank you. And very, very good segue to Babajide. Nefe, I'm coming to you. So Babajide said something I was already going to ask you. So there's a myth where we say scaling in Africa, a lot of people that you scale to, they are not learned, they are not mobile savvy. In fact, me too, sometimes when people are pitching to me, I'm like, are you sure they can use, mobile devices and stuff? But M-Copper has, I don't know, you guys have demystified that. So not only will I ask you your experience in engaging with mass markets, especially when most of them are not necessarily the whole highly educated first mobile kind of people. But how did you do that smartly? How did you I mean, I know you're going to tell us a story about being on the streets and all, which is fine, but just help us understand, because from outside, people are like, how do I reach 10,000 customers? Totally of these millions of customers Babajide is always tweeting about. Please let us know.
Yeah. So I'll start off with public numbers. So publicly, we have 5 million plus customers. Now, those 5 million
5
plus
million. How many
plus.
are we? How many
Plus.
are we in the country?
We have 5 million plus customers, and that's why I said publicly, is because the plus there could mean an extra 1 million or 2 million customers. So until when we are ready to announce that. But one thing about the smartphone is one of the most intuitive things. Like, you don't need to go to school for you to be able to operate a smartphone, like that digital savviness that we really talk about. Now, the real problem and the real crux is the affordability of the smartphone. Like, how many people can really afford to buy a smartphone too as well? Now, to give you some stats, the cheapest smartphone in Nigeria from Samsung is about 118,000 naira in the shop. Now, that's the cheapest entry-level basic smartphone too as well. Now, think about in a country where the minimum wage is just now 70K, and some states are still struggling to pay that 70K. So think of how that individual is going to be able to afford a smartphone. Now, here comes M-Copper, which makes access to quality, affordable smartphones on a pay-as-you-go model. And we've been able to really scale that really quickly across multiple locations too as well. Now, interesting facts that we've seen is 42% of our customers are first-time smartphone users. So they are actual digital adopters too as well. And what we've started seeing is that you see, like, when they have smartphones, they're quickly able to operate Facebook, Instagram. They're quickly able to operate YouTube, without little hand-holding or teaching or things like that. And the expectation is that, there's one quick document guide that I will teach them about, all these smartphone adoptions, how to use apps, things like that. But people intuitively find how to use these things, and they creatively use them in ways that, in fact, will be very, very shocked about. You will see people, far in a place called Omuaran, setting up their WhatsApp storefront, and you're wondering who taught that person. Like, this person probably has a basic level of education, but they are doing those things. Now, when you think about scalability, especially on the continent, because of the educational levels, the expectation is the apps should not be complex. So they should be easy, quick, straightforward apps to use. Now, I would use Child Deck as an example. I love using Child Deck. The reason being is that I don't need to go far to look for something else. Like, I'm not looking at beauty. Africa is functionality first, beauty after. Everybody who has really won based off of functionality. Like, you don't need that very beautiful app that is, shiny. And people just want to be able to say, I want to eat amala. So if they type amala, all the amala joints show up. They don't need to start going and, they need to start looking through the entire menu, looking through all those things too as well. And once we can start to build apps that focus first on functionality before, beauty, think about like Piggy Vest. Like, their first set of apps was functionality. It wasn't even the prettiest app at that point in time. I think Carrywise had the finest looking app there too as well. But Piggy Vest was very functional, and so it was easy, and it was easy to build trust around the functionality. Now, trust is not built on beauty, it's built on functionality. Now, if your app keeps functioning, I will trust your app. Like, we've seen how businesses have scaled. Like, I've looked at the OPay app, and I've seen the transition of the OPay app too as well. And I remember when the app first came out, it was buggy as hell, but it was functioning. Like, when you needed to do stuff, it worked. Like, it wasn't such a pretty nice app, it was functional. And so us thinking about scale and thinking really about scale. Now, think about what I've said is 42% of our customers are first-time smartphone users. Now, think of what that looks like in 5 million plus customers too as well. So just look at the sheer number of people who are experiencing a smartphone for the first time. Now, they're using apps that are functional to them, whether it's, like money transfer apps, whether it's social media apps too as well. Those apps are functional, and the first thing is function first before then looks and aesthetics and feel, then now comes and layers into it. So for anyone who is on here, when you're thinking about how you build your app, functionality has to be the first thing. Remember now, when you think and you step away and you think about Africa, Africa is a very interesting country because there's a conundrum. People cannot necessarily afford a lot of things, so there is a competition for share of wallet. They don't want mental gymnastics on how to use the app. They want to be able to go into the app. They want to be able to quickly do what they want to do, and they want to be able to get out as well. And you see, think about how the fintechs changed the landscape. Prior to fintechs in Nigeria, we didn't know we could transfer money through 4 steps. In fact, if you wanted to transfer money that time, you would take 10 different steps before you could transfer. But now, under 30 seconds, I can send you one day money, and the one day will receive the money. More like one day can send me money, and I will receive the money right here. And all that will take 30 seconds too as well. So just think about a world of what we can do in terms of speed and functionality, especially there. Now, why M-Kopa is very important is because if we don't keep providing smartphones and putting smartphones in people's hands, people like Kennedy would not necessarily have a lot of work. So I do hope he's praying for me and M-Kopa for us to succeed, because the more smartphones that are in people's hands, the more people we then now include into the digital economy. And once they are included in the digital economy, they can start to consume digital products.
Thank you. I feel like Omo. And you want to say something? Kennedy, go ahead. You want to say something?
No, I said absolutely. Literally, our business is largely dependent on the presence of smartphones and ability for people to order online. So it's important that the internet penetration is high, mobile penetration is high. So that allows us build on top of that and be able to provide services that people can utilize. So it's important that Babajide succeeds. So yeah.
All right. I love this session. Even me, I've learned. And to be honest, I like the way Babadi answered the question. You're talking about, sometimes we don't know that these are hacks, because we were like, oh, we spend $1 million trying to acquire customers, and then I don't know what's going on, or you don't really understand the nuance of the customers. If you notice in Kennedy and Babajide, you can see Babajide knows his numbers. He's telling us 42%, 5 million. Kennedy is saying, Abba, all those things. So as you are learning and as well, please know what you're doing. Just don't spray money on stuff. Actually know what it means. And obviously, we're going to Nefe now, just so that people online will know that we went to school. We're going to talk about user acquisition, because that's the first thing people always say. How much are you spending on user acquisition? For Paystack, or for your experience, I feel like user acquisition is something that's very touchy, because there's different strategies. There's acquire as much as possible first, there's stabilize, or there's be organic and then blow it up later. And then obviously startups are always trying to board cash. I know a lot of startups start with marketing. In fact, most people, we're not going to start, what's happening? Oh, we don't have enough money for marketing. Oh, our marketing, we have not started. Oh, why don't we have users? Once we start marketing, we get users. In your own experience, especially because you've launched in new countries. So even when you were known, I'm sure that you had to do a lot of work and also have to manage spending in customer acquisition. What would you recommend as options for not burning through cash to acquire customers smartly? I know that's a broad question, but anyway, the spirit flows. We'll take it.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting because Paystack historically doesn't, or rather the way we view marketing and acquisition is quite different. And honestly, prior to Paystack is probably a philosophy I would have disagreed with, because we're we're very conservative on burning cash. Like
Why?
they'll
Tell us
always
why.
get, because we need to be able to measure our ROI, like our return on investment. So, if we're sponsoring Big Brother, how is that translating to numbers for us? Especially because we're
I
primarily
thought that was a culture thing, not
a
necessarily a measuring ROI.
yes, but like to what end, right? Like cash isn't infinite. So what are you using the cash for? If you have infinite cash, and some businesses here do, then that's fantastic. But if you don't, then you need to be very, very sensible about how you're using the money. And again, it comes down to what your business is. We are B2B. So we're targeting other businesses apart from Zap. Zap is for everybody. So download it if you don't have it already. But apart from like Zap, we've been very B2B. So we're targeting other businesses. And therefore, we found that what works for us is leaning heavily on partnerships and community. So, for example, when we're expanding to Ghana, instead of pouring money into ads, we built strong relationships with our developer communities. We know that one of our strong points is our API documents. Developers typically love Paystack, so we leveraged.
So wait, before you rush, I've been hearing about. I didn't know that API documentation could even be a customer acquisition strategy, but you've just confirmed it. No, I'm saying it for the people on the call now. I have to pretend. Now. So you mean investing in your API documentation can attract customers?
It can.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Paystack, we pride us. Like, there's some people that have gone live with Paystack in 30 minutes just because the API docs are so easy to follow that if you're
so all the time we're stressing engineers and say do this thing, they don't understand that it's translating to ROI. Wow, please go on.
Well,
I hope everybody had now.
Hopefully they do.
Okay.
But yeah, like Babaji said, it's about simplicity and functionality, and Paystack has really broken that down. And we've found the people that are interested in that. So it's always important to know who is your guy in the company, because not everyone in the company will necessarily see your value or who you're after. For us, we know that as developers, so we have strong relations with developer communities, with startup hubs as well. Paystack typically built for startups because they understand what good, clean technology is. They don't want to be thinking about payment problems. They're not attached to the old way of doing things, like where you're speaking to other people like, oh no, they sign a check. So we leverage those communities really well. And then we host like workshops, we co-create content with them, and we honestly just let word of mouth do its thing. And that's how we get early adopters. And we've always said that for every new market, sorry, I don't know who's calling me so desperately. We always said that every market, we find our early adopters, which are usually the startups. That's who we build with at a small scale before we go large. And by the time those people have spread the word, there's not that much you need to do. Now, what is interesting is because you're saying like, oh, everyone knows it. It's only really in Nigeria that people know Paystack. And that was one thing that we found a bit surprising when we went to other markets, is we will even have businesses that use us in Nigeria and they won't know that we're in Ghana until it comes up by mistake. And we're like, So you also need to know how to tailor your approach in each market and how those markets respond to it as well. So in Cote d'Ivoire, they're very big on like micro influencers and Instagram and things like that. In Ghana, it's billboards. In some other places, is radio. So also don't copy and paste. I'm going to say this a lot. It's like we have the tendency as like, okay, this works in Nigeria. Nigeria's the biggest market. Yeah, it'll work everywhere else. It does not work like that. Know where you're going properly and tailor your approach to them. And I'll stop talking now.
All right, thank you. I think for the next round of questions, I'm going to ask one question and then everybody can answer. But don't be afraid. It's easy. They're easy questions. Okay, so what growth strategy or tactics look good on paper but really works in practice in Africa? And I'm just going to throw it open to all three of you, because I feel like that will even bring out more insights. What are things that on paper, if we do this, we'll get this, that don't really work on the continent or where other markets we serve? I don't know who wants to go first. Okay, Nefe.
Let's ladies
first.
No,
Baji, go for it. I'll speak after you.
Discount. Discount. In fact, you know what? I've learned that if you subsidize, you can why startups raise money is because they don't have enough money or they don't make enough profit for them to carry their operational costs. But if you are even subsidizing your platform costs, first of all, it's a no-no. Like the platform should be able to pay for itself. And what I mean platform cost is that if it costs you $1 to produce it, you're not a genius because you sold what will cost you $1 for 90 cents or 80 cents. In fact, the geniuses are people who can sell what costs $1 at $1 1 cent or $1, 2 cents or whatever the cents added to it is. Now, discounts for some reason, yeah. Now, discounts can be used in multiple ways. Now, discounts is good when you're building retention programs for already existing customers who use your product, and you're saying, hey, I can create a discount because there's a point of stickiness with you, so I want to continue to build that loyalty with you and I want to reward you. Makes sense. Discount on acquisition. In fact, because what we've seen is that customers in Africa, they are so finicky. They will jump, use your discount. The moment the next person brings a discount, they've left you. So you see that acquisition, it will jump so high and then it will drop down.
Yeah.
Now, the real problem, and me and Kennedy, we used to banter about this a lot. We even had one that we were talking about, like, was it not 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And we didn't see the sense in it. We were like, this thing makes no sense. But everybody to their own cup of tea. Now, when you work with international organizations, because they work in structured markets that you can use discounts to acquire customers and convert them based off of the simplicity and functionality of your product, then it makes sense in those kind of markets because the LTV of that customer is very high, and for people who don't know what LTV is, lifetime value. And there's a calculation for LTV too, as well, which takes your acquisition cost, the amount of money they will pay, the customer will pay you over a period of time divided by, I've forgotten what the denominator is too as well. Now, those are the things that really give you your lifetime value cost. Now, in Africa, you'll get 5 times less what you'll get in Latin America. Now, when you take it to the US, you get 20 times less what you'll get in America. So if the LTV for someone in America is $20, you best believe that the LTV of a similar person in Nigeria is $1, or in Africa is $1, and in Latin America is $5. So that gives you a sense of things. Then you now discounted the guy, and you've already discounted for the product at $3. He loan share. Like, does it make sense to you? So discounts, it looks good on paper. In reality, it doesn't work very well. I have referrals too as well because eyes have seen in this market. If I start to tell you stories around discounts and referrals, I then now understand why it makes sense for you to build businesses. And even if you are not growing as fast, just keep growing to the point where you are making enough money, because most times when you do discounts and referrals, you allow bad actors into the system really quick too as well. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump in there and say, like, I feel like everything Jide said is my current reality, because I'm in an industry where it feels like discounts is the order of the day. You have to constantly offer discounts. But he was very spot on saying, like, it's not an acquisition strategy, is more or less a retention strategy. You need people to already existing customers to let them know that, okay, you can come back, get these prices and whatnot. But if that is the primary strategy to acquire customers, then you're dead on arrival. For us at ChildX, I think the way we countered that was, it was just having a very solid product that people could talk about. I think that's what's more important. We've already touched on it before. But in our earliest days, we grew our first, we didn't even offer discounts to people. We couldn't afford to offer discounts to you, first of all. So it's important that the product functions and people are able to get value off of the product, and then you can now build on that before we start offering, discounts and whatnot. I remember we running a discount for a certain vendor, and that month we saw a sky high number of users, and after the discount left, everybody just disappeared afterwards. And that was a learning curve for us as well, because it's important that that doing this doesn't give you the real customers. It's just people who want to enjoy freebies. And in Nigeria, we love freebies a whole lot. So people will enjoy your freebies for that month, and then they will disappear on you the next month. To add to what Jide said as well, I think one thing I know that is good on paper, but doesn't really work that way is billboards. And people would not agree, but
Kennedy, the table, you are going to.
Yeah, I would honestly say it because I mean, I would use as an example.
Everywhere.
We ran the first one year. The first 1 year we did, we didn't do any out of house, campaign. There was no billboard whatsoever. You move across the entirety of Lagos and you will not see a single child egg billboard. Now, of course, our predecessors in the market have already spoiled the market with, giving people the idea that you need to have a billboard for you to be able to sell. But that's not the case. You can be able to sell off of personalized, targeted, marketing. Like, know who your customers are, know what their pain point is, and then target them directly. As far as I'm concerned, billboards are just top of mind awareness that you can't really track conversion. You don't really know what exactly you're getting off of it. Yes, there's a billboard that says it, but do you know if you converted people? Do you know how many people they actually converted? How many people, even for the putting a scan on the billboard, how many people actually stop on the road to scan the billboard to get what you put on this on the billboard? So in a sense, it's nice to have, don't get me wrong, it's nice, it's top of mind and whatnot, but like in reality and in calculating your return on investment, you don't ever actually know if you got customers off of the billboard. So most times we usually pivot to doing things that are more targeted, sending you a personalized email, sending you a personalized notification, letting you know that this is something we currently have for you, and ensuring that like you are among that customer persona that we are sending that particular deal to. So if you like ordering from this particular restaurant, whenever the restaurant is having an offer, a campaign, it only makes sense for me to send it to you to your mobile device to let you know that this is happening, or even on the app in itself. But if I put a billboard out there, you probably would see it, and it might not even ginger you to like order, the meal. So again, I'll just say, yeah, it's nice to have, but I don't think it converts as much as people would think it converts. But that's just me and my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, plus one to what the lads have said completely. I have my own stories, but it's fine. I won't double click on that point too much. I think for me, another thing is, that Uber saying move fast and break things. I think that's well and good for some people. And like we've said, I think across all of our little tidbits today, everyone has talked about understanding your product well, your problem well, understanding your market well and the role you play in. Paystack, we're handling people's money. That's not where you're going to be breaking things and moving fast, because they will come for, like, handling people's money. See, I always say if I work in payments again after this, someone should come and check if I'm all right, because it's just like nothing you've ever seen. And yes, innovate, but you need to be very careful because you actually have people's livelihoods there. And we've talked a lot about trust, and there isn't a lot of innate trust when money is involved, both from your consumers and even the regulators as well. So the regulators are looking down at you, almost waiting for you to mess up, so that the reason to shut the fintechs down. And like we said, we need to work a little bit more on like retention than acquisition. So these people are also waiting for you to mess up so they can move somewhere else. So like, you can't afford in the name of innovation to forget what you're really trying to solve, which is just help people grow their businesses better by helping their payments quick and helping them accept payments for their services. So I think that's one thing that sounds great when you're building a startup, fantastic, move fast, break things, innovate, but like it doesn't translate to the markets we're in because there isn't that innate trust, and handling people's money is very sensitive and you need to treat it with that level of care. And linked to what I said about regulators is also ask for forgiveness and not permission. That's how I live my life in general. That's not how I do in Paystack, because they will come for you and it will destroy not just your existing markets, but in other markets. Like we've seen that happen to a lot of our partners where, they misbehaved in one market because they didn't think those regulators were as strict as CBI, and it just caused like a ripple effect. And the thing is, we always talk about ecosystem, but it's important. It's like we can't be selfish in this game that we play because our actions directly impact a lot of other players. If one fintech messes up in Rwanda, Paystack feels it, Piggyverse feels it, other people feel it. So like as Africans and as Nigerians, when we're playing this ecosystem, we really need to support ourselves and not act selfishly. So build a relationship with the regulators. A lot of them are understanding that fintechs are here to stay. It's a matter of educating them, lobbying them, and explaining how it works. And we found that that has worked quite well for us. Yes, we move slower, is a bit frustrating, but at least we're not held back by them, scattering our growth in other markets. So I think those are the two things that I would say that sounds great in other markets, works in other markets. But I feel like we need to know our country and our ecosystem well enough to know that they don't translate here.
All right, thank you. I see that Falakem is trying to chase us away. So I don't know what we're going to do, but I feel like we should do part 2 of this because I feel like I've not even asked up to 10% of the questions that I have. So I'm going to come and beg you guys in your DMs so that we can do part 2. I've not told my team, but I feel like we should have part 2, and that part 2 will be more practical. So the thing is, I was pushing them. I said, I don't want anybody to come and tell me stories. I want people that have done the work. I don't want online superstars. I want people that I know will give us like really good insights. And I think you guys have done a fantastic job. So please, before I come to your DM, just get ready to say yes. Don't worry, please. It's very, very important for the sustainability of our ecosystem and even our customers. So thank you in advance. We'll read some questions. I'm sorry you guys are taking long. You guys can see we're all enjoying it. We'll do part 2. I think they are going to say yes. I'll beg them. But we'll take some, maybe like Falakem, you can read maybe 1 or 2 questions from the audience. And then if you have a very important question, please just put it in the chat. If you are shy, then I'm sorry. But just put it in the chat. They'll be answering some of the questions. We'll read 1 or 2 questions and then we'll just wrap up here. But thank you guys so much, Babajide, Nefe, Kennedy. I feel like I've just done a really good masterclass. And even though it's just 10% of the questions that I wanted to even ask that I've asked. Thank you so much. Yes, it will be uploaded on YouTube. You can share it to all your growth and your developer team so that they can watch it and learn. You can follow everybody else. You can follow Babajide, Nefe, Kennedy on Twitter and on LinkedIn. You can also email us if you want to reach out to them. You can be able to facilitate some things for you. Just have a budget. But yes, okay, please go ahead.
Thank you guys so much. And please, I'm putting my name now to Santa because I'm bringing gifts and it's just April. But anyway, let's go into the questions. So Adeoye, you've had your hand raised up since the beginning of the session. So please, you have the floor. Sorry, because of time, we'll wait for you for like 5 seconds and then we'll move on to the next person. Okay, Dolapo, do you want to go now?
Hi everyone. Thank you. Lovely session, lovely humor. I guess my question is around artificial intelligence. With the amount of experience you guys have and the things you've seen, what are the gaps in products or opportunities, gaps you guys are trying to fill in the next coming years, and where you see the industry that you're working in evolving? Do you see AI as a threat, or are you seeing new product ideas that are emerging and opportunities, basically?
So I can go first. So any company that doesn't adopt AI will die. That is standard, and that is a given too as well. Now, I think we've conceptually thought about AI the wrong way, which is it's going to replace human beings. But we're beginning to see that it's not going to replace human beings, just actually going to help us become a lot more efficient, help us arrive to things a lot faster, automate workflows and processes too as well. So that's what I see. And now we're beginning to use AI. We're using AI quite a lot too as well. Like now you think we're using AI for loan modeling and all those things like that, which is a nice jazz. This is another thing that's, you wonder when you ask what works on paper and in reality, what is the difference? AI too is another thing that, like, the application of AI, everybody thinks is going to replace human beings. Yes, it will take some jobs out of things. So things that were a lot monotonous and repetitive would be automated. When I say automating workflow, that is what AI is really doing for us. But it's allowing us to understand things better. Like we use Copilot, we use Claude AI internally too as well. I sit down with it, I use it to analyze the report, and I use it to say, tell me what is happening. It helps me in my personal thing to look at my emails and say, here are the ones you need to reply to very urgently. Here are the ones you can deal with later too as well, and allows me to move fast, quickly into decision-making processes. But the fact that AI is going to become a general manager in a crazy market like Nigeria, that's not going to happen. that's not going to exist, because human beings are extremely dynamic, and you can't take away that human being or human interaction or connection, especially around the dynamism to it. There's something that AI will never learn, is emotions. It can't learn those things. But I can sit down, Kennedy can speak in a certain way, and I know something is wrong with Kennedy. Let me go and ask him why he responded the way he did, or things like that. So AI is always going to be like an improvement tool, rather than a tool that you see would replace people. Developers will use it to write better code, faster code. They will use it to do test-driven development a lot faster than things. But to say that the AI will then now replace the entire engineering team, on your own, all the best to you.
Thank you so much, Babajide, for that answer. Does anyone have anything else to add before we move on to the next person and we take questions from the chat?
No, I don't have anything to add. I think it was absolutely spot on it. It's just it's an assistant that just helps you optimize your output. It's not there to replace. It's more or less to help you improve on monotonous tasks, like I said, things that you probably do all the time that you can automate, and that's pretty much it. I don't think the idea is to replace. I think it's just to enhance.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will just take one question from the chat, then we'll go to you, Joan. So this person said, question for Babajide and Kennedy: what were the unavailable things you had to do to scale? Unavailable things you had to do to scale.
I'm not sure I totally get.
So I think I hear what he's trying to say too. There are two ways to attack that question. Number one is what you are not supposed to be focusing on. Like if you see things that don't allow you to scale, I'm not necessarily sure why you should be putting your energy into those things. Now, the second answer that I would say to that question is there are some things that you absolutely need to do that allows you to then now scale. So they could be the bedrock of your scaling. A very good example of things like that is, figuring out how your payment infrastructure or your payment process flow would look like as well. So that is a one-off activity that then now allows you to scale, because multiple users will continue to use that payment process, but it's a one-off activity that you've done that allows you or multiple people to use that touch point a lot more time as well. It's figuring out those very important little pieces of work that needs to be done that allows scale to happen. So that's what that comment is actually saying. Now, if you're asking what we've done personally in our businesses, those are trade secrets. So it will be very hard for me to then now tell you some of those things too as well. I don't want anybody building them Copa 2.0 anywhere. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for that, Babajide. Do you want to ask your question now?
Yes. I think it's another trade secret. I actually want to ask about M-Copper strategy around, because personally, I've paid attention to M-Copper, and I've seen them at parks. I've seen them at very not so usual positions. I wanted to ask Babajide that, what's the strategy? What's the average numbers of marketers that are deployed in each state? Just roughly. It doesn't have to be precise. I just want to have an idea of what it is.
Okay, so I'm not going to give you exact numbers and things like that, but when you think about the customer you serve, the first thing you need to really understand is, where do you meet them? Where is that point of access? So Kennedy's customers that he serves is a lot of people, and he meets them at the point of hunger. So they are like, hungry, and that's where the access is. Now, my product is not at the point of hunger that I'm meeting those people. Now, if you use ChildDeck a lot, you find out that during lunchtime, they are sending you push notifications and messages because at that point in time, they know that you are hungry. Towards dinner time, they are sending you a lot of push notifications and messages because why? They know you are hungry at that point in time. So there is a sense of like where you then now start to do, clever tap messages or, notifications that push people to convert. Now for us, it's a lot more interesting because we need to go and meet people at their place of business too as well. And our customers are not really people on this call. Like nothing concerns me with Kennedy and trying to get Kennedy to be an M-Copper customer. Yes, he might have enough money, but he's even a problematic customer to me because you start removing calculator, try to do the back end calculation, start asking for my father's head, and I'm not willing to give that. Now, what I'm here to serve is the everyday income Nigerian. Where are the everyday income Nigerians found? They are found in the parks, they're found in the marketplaces, they're found, in the places where they earn everyday income. So you go and meet them at their place of need or their place of business, and that's what really drives the strategy. In terms of the number of agents, like I said, I'm not going to say, but we do have a fair amount of agents. As M-Copper has 30,000 agents across our 5 markets. And so if that should give you a rough sense of like what number of agents exist within each market.
Great, thank you so much, Obajide. I'm sure he has answered your question. Sorry, there are lots of questions and we're way over time as well. So if you're okay with us doing an extra 20-25 minutes, just give me thumbs up and we can continue. Of course, people will say, good, of course. Now 1 hour is not a lot. But anyway, we can keep going. So we're just going to take one more question, and it's from Yele. How do you deal with challenges of the Amala sellers who are overwhelmed with the new orders that come from ChildDeck, plus their regular in-premise customers? I'm not sure I understand. So Kennedy, if you can just go to the chat and read it.
Yeah, I'm trying to check. Is that a question from Precious?
From Yele.
Oh yeah, I've answered Yele's question. The one regarding vendors having more orders than they can handle.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've, like I said on the chat, we've experienced that with like a bunch of vendors, and what we've done is we've built a system that allows you project how many orders you can process in an hour. We check what your store speed, your kitchen speed is, how long it takes you to churn out an order. So we have a system that allows us to calculate that. We let you know what your projected number of orders that you can bring out in an hour between lunchtime, between your downtime, and that allows you to plan better. Also in certain scenarios, we also have like people help you out, agents that can help you out in your store, sort out like your operational efficiency and just ensure that like the kitchen is bringing out food and packaging as I went you. So some vendors key into that program, and we are also like in the process of getting people to like understand that for you to be able to grow, there are certain things you're able to do to ensure that efficiency is there. Again, like I said at the beginning of the program, we are still very early, in e-commerce in Nigeria, regardless of the amount of growth we've experienced. And for the space we are playing in, our predecessors did a lot of work in opening up that space, but there's still a lot of learning that has to happen. You travel outside the country, and you know that like if a restaurant says this food is coming out in 30 minutes, it's coming out in 30 minutes. But in Nigeria, if a restaurant says it's coming out in 30 minutes, best assume that like that 30 minutes.
Another 30 minutes.
So it's something that we are working on with restaurants, but we've really helped them figure out what efficiency looks like from the kitchen perspective, and that's something we've been hammering on for a while. And again, it's just going to take a bit of time, but restaurants are picking up the pace, and a lot of restaurants know that in order for them to grow, there are certain things that they need to do.
Okay, thank you so much, Kennedy. And we're just going to take one final question from Ugurna. Please, after the questions, do not leave. We have some games for you and some gifts to give out, first time ever. So, Ugurna, please go.
All right, thank you so much. Hi guys, good evening. So for Babajide, two questions real quick. You said you have 30,000 agents across your different markets. So I'm just curious, are you doing any marketing online, or is your marketing limited to your field agent network? And then, because I know like in the Nigerian market, you're basically selling phones to, like you said, the everyday Nigerian. So I'm wondering, after they repay for the phone, right, after they fully own the phone, do you have additional products you upsell to them? And if you do, how does that work? Like, what's the channel? Because they have the phone, they've paid for it, they own it now. So are you selling additional things there? Just one quick question for Kennedy. For Chowdeck, in terms of the customer profile, right? Are you targeting a specific, because everybody eats, right? But is there a specific niche, a specific profile of customers that you're targeting? Maybe young, working class, etc. And if you are you able to acquire more of them through online channels, or what other channels are you actually leveraging to find that specific profile? Thank you.
All right. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
Sure, I can go first so that I don't forget my question. You're on your own. In terms of like the customers, so for asset-heavy acquisitions, online marketing is a lot tricky, because what's the call to action that happens at that point in time? We tell them, go to the store or look out for an agent, and it doesn't really help you. It doesn't help the person who is curious. It doesn't help you guys too as well. So that's why we use mostly field agents who are actually canvassing, and they are going around too as well. Now, when you're dealing with everyday Nigerians, there's nothing better than people who are wearing the company shirt, going up and down, selling your product. Now, they do a whole bunch of things. They, like in the entire marketing spree, they say, there's awareness, there's understanding, there's conversion, there's use and retention, all that. Now, with agents, you can skip 4 steps in the praise, from awareness to onboarding. An agent can actually stand there and do all that for you too as well. In fact, interestingly, when we're doing Safe Border, we used more agents to acquire customers than marketing tools, channels, all those things. Like, I agree with Kennedy about billboards and the effectiveness of those billboards. They just cost a lot of money and they increase brand awareness or presence, but they don't necessarily get people to take action. They don't get them to do certain things, and that's what you really want as a business, for people to take action. So we focus more on agents, and we focus more on, think about putting more money in the hands of the person who is going to sell what you are selling, versus going to go and put it on a billboard as well. Now, in the second question, so M-Copper is a smart money platform. So we don't focus, people, we started off as a solar company. People say we are a solar company. Now we are being called a smartphone company. But truth of the matter is we're a money platform too. And Nefe is just smiling, because Nefe sees all our numbers because it comes mostly through her portfolio. We offer loans. We offer cash loans to, people. Like, once they are done with their acquisition phone, what next? How do you retain that customer? They're not going to buy a phone every 6 months. What else can they do? Now, what we do is we offer cash loans where the person can access cash loans, and they can continue to access cash loans up until the time they need the phone. Now, the way the M-Copper phone works is, it works like your meters. So you buy units on the phone is unlocked. If you don't have units on it, the phone is locked, and you have to keep going through that process. You can always go through that experience and that process. Even if you give someone a cash loan, the phone goes back into that locking and unlocking position all through that period. So yes, we do have a very strong retention practice. In some of our other markets, we offer, health insurance. We offer hospital cash too as well. We offer upgrades phones to a whole array of retention products that keep people in the business and keep them in touch with them until they are ready for their next smartphone. Kennedy?
Yeah. For me, like you said, everybody wants to eat. We want to be able to like allow everybody to eat, regardless of your age or where you're from or whatnot. But I would say, I mean, everybody says we are in a how is it said again? Indomie generation. That's what they say. So people don't want to cook. Everybody wants to like order in. And for us, it's important to capture people at a very young age. Because once you start ordering from a platform at a young age, it becomes a part of you. It becomes very easy for you to like use that platform. So while we target young people, we are not averse to like having older people. So there's no particular say, oh, this is the kind of people we want on the platform. We want everybody on the platform. But at the same time, we want young people to be on the platform because young people tend to order more normally. So areas around schools, areas that have younger people around, we try to like mop up as much restaurants around the area as possible that will allow young people order as much as they can. But like it doesn't stop us from also targeting older people who once in a while want to order something nice for their loved one, or maybe order a